Imagine being a princess your entire life, only to have that title threatened not because of anything you did, but because of your father's actions. That's the reality Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are facing right now, as questions swirl about their royal future and the inheritance they thought was secure. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're breaking down the complicated situation surrounding Prince Andrew's daughters and why their decision not to take on royal duties could cost them more than just a title. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have lived their entire lives with Her Royal Highness titles, yet they've never been working members of the royal family. Unlike their cousins Prince William and Prince Harry, who were expected to carry out official duties, Beatrice and Eugenie have maintained private careers while keeping their royal status. Beatrice works as Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at a technology company, while Eugenie serves as a director at a prestigious Mayfair art gallery. They've carved out independent lives, stepping in for royal engagements when needed but never committing to full-time royal work. That choice, which seemed perfectly reasonable at the time, is now creating complications for their future. At the heart of this controversy is Royal Lodge, the sprawling 30-room mansion in Windsor where their father Prince Andrew has lived since 2003. The property technically belongs to the Crown Estate, and Andrew holds a 75-year lease on it. For years, he's been battling to maintain the 19th-century mansion, and reports suggest he's determined to pass it down to his daughters as part of their inheritance. However, the reality is far more complicated than simply willing a property to your children. Property expert Raj Chauhan explained that Royal Lodge is part of the Crown Estate, and since Andrew stepped down from royal duties following the Epstein scandal, the situation has become murky. Andrew essentially functions as a sitting tenant, paying a modest weekly fee while maintaining an incredibly expensive property. The question of whether Andrew can actually leave Royal Lodge to his daughters depends on factors beyond his control. Since he only leases the property and doesn't own it outright, the Crown Estate's board of directors would ultimately decide the long-term plans for the residence. Chauhan pointed out that if Andrew's lease allows it, he could theoretically leave it to Beatrice and Eugenie, but there's a catch. The expert noted that inheritance typically gets divided equally among siblings, and the situation becomes even more complicated because both daughters have refused to take on full-time royal duties, possibly because they're focusing on being young mothers. This refusal to become working royals carries significant weight when discussing inheritance tied to crown properties. The logic is straightforward. If a property is funded through taxpayer money and connected to the monarchy, shouldn't the people living there be serving the monarchy? Princess Eugenie has 2 young sons with her husband Jack Brooksbank, and the couple splits their time between London and Portugal. Princess Beatrice lives with her husband and daughter in the Cotswolds, also maintaining an apartment in London for royal engagements. Neither sister has expressed interest in becoming a full-time working royal, preferring to balance their private careers with occasional royal appearances. King Charles reportedly wanted Andrew to vacate Royal Lodge and move into a smaller residence like Frogmore Cottage, the former home of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. However, Andrew has refused, apparently hoping to preserve the property for his daughters. Last year, despite Charles cutting off his brother's annual allowance and security funding, Andrew somehow secured funds to maintain the property, though the source of that money remains unclear. The entire situation has created a standoff between the brothers, with Charles pushing for a slimmed-down monarchy and Andrew fighting to protect what he sees as his daughter's rightful inheritance. Beyond the property dispute, there have been persistent rumors that King Charles might strip Beatrice and Eugenie of their princess titles altogether. Royal experts have suggested that Charles, who has long advocated for a more streamlined monarchy, doesn't have the same soft spot for Andrew that Queen Elizabeth did. The late Queen apparently protected her granddaughters' titles despite their father's controversies, but Charles may take a different approach. Some experts believe the sisters could be downgraded from princess to lady, similar to how other royal family members have been styled. This would align with Charles's vision of restricting royal titles to working members of the family and direct heirs to the throne. The irony of this situation isn't lost on royal watchers. For years, there was speculation that Beatrice and Eugenie might eventually step into larger royal roles, especially as the monarchy faced personnel shortages. When both King Charles and Catherine Princess of Wales were dealing with health challenges earlier this year, some wondered if the York sisters would be called upon more frequently. However, Prince William's reported plans to further streamline the monarchy suggest that outcome is increasingly unlikely. A former royal employee noted that Beatrice has her own career and William probably won't make her a senior working royal, and the same applies to her sister. So what does the future hold for Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie? Will they retain their titles, Or will King Charles follow through on reported plans to streamline the monarchy by removing their princess status? And what about Royal Lodge? Can their father really pass it down to them, or will the Crown Estate have other plans? The answers to these questions could reshape the York family's place in the royal hierarchy for generations to come. What's your take on this situation? Should non-working royals like Beatrice and Eugenie keep their titles and inheritance rights? Let us know in the comments below, and make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you don't miss any updates on this developing story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.